right, everybody, welcome to Arsenal Fan Circle, the Sunday show here. And I want to give thanks to all of you for watching, first and foremost, and for the panel members who are here also. So, got Stan the Man, the avatar is here. Hey, Stan.
Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon over here, and good evening where Jack is, actually. So, yeah, we're covering all parts of the day here. Jack, welcome in. I thought I'd get your perspective on the title race from a Liverpool point of view going against City over the last few years.
Massive thank you, gents, for having me on. And I was saying in the green room then, obviously I'm absolutely furious with your performance, even as a neutral. You know, lads have been gunning for you all season. Still a long way to go. Still lots of points up for grabs anyway. But yeah, massive thank you very much for having me on, mate. And looking forward to tonight's episode.
Listen, not being arrogant at all, but, I thought Arsenal could handle West Ham away from home. They really needed these 6 points in 5 days because we play again on Friday, and it's really got to be a win at home to Southampton on Friday next weekend. Before the big one, we face Manchester City, as you know, Jack, away from home, which will be, it won't be a title decider, but it's going to go a long way to deciding where the destination of the title is going to go, Jack.
Yeah, it has always been. Obviously, you watching us over in recent seasons. Liverpool, it has. We know the title has always gone down to 1 or 2 points in the last couple of years. And City have been, yes, all the money they've spent, but still, Pep Guardiola's still got to get a tune out of this squad. You look at the absolute utter mess that is Chelsea Football Club. All that money spent, but still you need to see a result on the pitch. And it's the hunger. City, for as good and great they have been, the hunger of this side and the mentality, really, first and foremost. Even when we've had slip-ups in the Premier League in the last 5 years, City, history, as it says, and it points to, have always capitalised on Liverpool's frailties. Whether that, we've had Liverpool, as you know, Liverpool have lost league titles, losing 2 games in a Premier League campaign. Yes, the draws didn't help, but it's ridiculous the expectations and the levels in which City have set. But, of course, you counterbalance that with the sheer amount of money that they've spent. It massively helps.
Yeah, it definitely helps. Stan, I want to get your viewpoint on today's game, 2-2 draw at the what do they call it? The stadium in the London Stadium,
London
right?
Stadium, yeah.
Well, I mean, you look at the second goal, was that? I think we scored a second goal on around about 13 minutes. Now, at that point, if I said to you, how do you think the rest of this game is going to go? I'm sure you would have said more goals, because that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. I mean, we started off that game so sharply, and for that first half an hour or so, the way that we were moving the ball around, I was actually thinking to myself, I wonder if we're going to be able to keep this up for 90 minutes, because what I'm seeing at the moment looks really good and tidy. And we were unable to keep it up for the full 90 minutes. I mean, I was shocked that we managed to let a game that we looked so much in control of, and against a team that's been having so much trouble of late getting wins, that I thought that there shouldn't be any problems here, especially after that, the way that we started. So, I mean, there's quite a lot to unpack of why we didn't win that game. But at the end of the day, quite simply, there are 38 games in the season and you can't win them all. You can't draw them all. It's just sometimes it's the way of football, all because Team A plays Team B and hands them a hiding, and then we play Team A and win. It doesn't mean that you're automatically going to beat the team that they played the previous week and gave a hiding to. It's not that simple. It's just not that simple. No. And at the end of the day, for me, as much as I am disappointed in the result that we've had today, as far as I'm concerned, I'm still on a roller coaster ride of a season with what Arsenal have been giving us this season. I mean, at the beginning of the season, we were all saying we need to get into the top 4. We need to get into the top 4. Well, it looks like that's not a problem now. So for me, everything else is a bonus. If we don't win this title, it's not because the team didn't want to win the title. It's not because they don't want it. it's probably just because we're just not good enough to get enough points to beat Man City at the moment. And remember, this is a team that's under investigation for, basically cheating is the easiest way to put it. If they're found guilty of the charges that have been brought against them, they've been cheating for a number of seasons because they've had more resources than they should have had over anybody else.
Yeah.
But that remains to be seen. But I'm not going to have a knee-jerk reaction and start throwing my toys out. I mean, Salah missed a penalty last week.
Yeah.
People miss penalties. Do you know what I mean? What I'm saying is people miss penalties. Saka missed one this week. It happens.
Yeah, and for me, right? For me, from outside, I've been saying to you lads all season, you're ahead of your schedule. In all honesty, I had Arsenal probably finishing second or third this season. I don't think I never anticipated you to go on such a run, but that just goes to show with the investments in Champions League, as you got top four, as Stan's alluded to, that was your probably expectations, and obviously a good cup run would be even better anyway. But I tell you what, lads, if you can keep the large majority of this squad and improve in certain areas here and there, it's only going to make you so much stronger. And given obviously when the season Liverpool did win the league, it's all about, we had a young side then. It's just about that, getting that experience of being in a title race. It will see you in such more of a greater stead in the long term, because obviously the first season where Liverpool come agonisingly close, this will spur you on, especially how in the way in which it transpires. We'll find out in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It's going to drive you on even more. And for me, Saka, Martinelli, yes, as Stan alludes to, Salah's missed penalties. Salah missed probably a lot of opportunities in those title run-ins. It's the knee-jerk reaction of the modern football fan currently, as we do in the last 10, 15 years, especially on social media, bloody hell, the stuff that you do see. But I wouldn't be downhearted. I know I've been here, disappointing, dropping points, of course, but it's not like you've got one game left and City have got a game in hand. You've still got a lot of football to play. Brighton still got to play City. So there's points there to be won and dropped.
Yeah.
City,
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, Stan. We're going to all, as Arsenal fans and even the greater football media fan base, rival fans will look in from outside and see. We're all going to draw different conclusions, right, Stan, on this one?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I saw a tweet by a Chelsea supporter. Who's a bird, and she's basically dancing, a Chelsea supporter, dancing around her front room with the TV on, singing "Arsenal in the mud." Yeah. I mean, we're still top of the league, and this is Chelsea, for fuck's sake. She's a Chelsea supporter, and she's singing out "Arsenal in the mud" because we drew against West Ham.
This is social media right now.
It's the levels to the game, Stan. That's the level.
Instant social media, right? Instant access. It's sort of like people want instant gratification as well. Sometimes I wish we were back in the days of like back pages of the newspaper and Oracle and CFAX.
Teletext as well. Checking the scores.
And listening on the radio and trying to understand what the game looks like through commentary. It'd be a little bit less ear to the ground, let's say. Craig here, Arteta game management is useless. I'm gonna definitely tweak Jack's ear on all of this stuff in relation to Jurgen Klopp and Arteta. And feel free, Jack, to throw any criticism you think is valid toward Arteta.
I think Arteta, up until this week, he's been absolutely exceptional. But hence the notion really of modern day football. And as I said before, with Manchester City, if you slip up once or twice within a week, the title race, weirdly, it's not when United were winning the league on like 80 points. We're talking about Premier League getting won on 90 odd bloody point seasons. That's not been heard of in Premier League history, in all honesty, apart from like the odd occasion. Bloody hell, try being a Liverpool supporter and getting 97 points and missing out on the league by one or two. Like, fair enough with your lads if you do get sort of very similar, you miss out on a point. But for me, when I looked at today's game, I was disappointed with Arteta's in-game management. I think as substitutions, I would have liked to have seen come on a bit more earlier. But I think it was almost him, not stubbornness, but it almost to a point to some of those players today to make a point really and let them really stew on the performance today and go in a full time and really have a go at them. Oh, I think not mute there.
Stan, what are your thoughts on the substitutions, and were they timely for Arteta, or were they a little bit delayed, in your opinion?
A little bit similar to the last game, where I think that the reaction was a little bit too late. And I've noticed over the last couple of games that there are maybe players that should be taken off and given a breather, and he'll leave them on. And then he'll take off other players, and I'll be thinking, why are you taking off those players for? If anything, they're the players that need to be staying on, you know? And an example of that is, I think, Saka. He seems so loath to take Saka off. And I get it. Sometimes, you know, players like Saka and Martin Odegaard, they can make things happen in the 89th minute. You know, they're that good. But sometimes, you know, you have to take some players out of the firing line if it's not their day. And you've got people on the bench, you've got to give them an opportunity to come in and try and help. So, I mean, there was a lot of things that he could have done today, which could have involved taking maybe Saka off. He just wasn't on it today. He could have moved Gabriel Jesus out onto the right-hand side and brought on Trossard and played either Trossard as the in Martinelli's role, moved Martinelli through the middle, or Trossard through the middle. There's a lot of we do have a lot of variety of what we can do from the bench now, but sometimes I do think that Mikel Arteta leaves it too late, or he does get his substitutions wrong. Definitely in this game and in the last game.
Yeah, Jack, carrying on from what Stan said, Bukayo Saka, great player, can do something at any point in time, but do we wait too long in the game and keep him on the field too much, waiting for something to happen, and then we sort of miss a trick when we could have substituted him after 60, 65 minutes?
Similar with Liverpool. Liverpool haven't got a like-for-like replacement in Salah. And I think, obviously, Trossard's good, but I think given the quality of Saka, in all honesty, him and Martinelli have been absolutely superb. Me, it's a weird thing in relation to Arsenal. Today, I was watching that. You get the Stan's alluded to. You went 2-0 up quite quick, but I don't understand why you just go for the kill. West Ham are absolutely shocking, in all honesty, have been this season in recent weeks. You were there, like, obviously. I watched that game as well. Newcastle turned up at the London Pub, so he ran through them. Declan Rice, there's no sense of a defensive point of view, but yeah. But that will improve. And Arsenal fans, it will improve in terms of Champions League money. You'll get better squad players, boost the performance, and Saka, I think you've been quite fortunate in terms of injuries as well, similar with Liverpool when we were going for the league titles. If Saka and Martinelli were injured for a large majority of the season, there's obviously not that quality really to come off the bench. In Nketiah, he's good, but he's not quite a Gabriel Jesus or he's done a good job this season, don't get me wrong, but for the aspirations of where Arsenal want to be and the legendary strikers he's had, the Anelkas, the Henrys, the list is endless, the Bergkamps, the levels and the expectation level of Arsenal Football Club, they have been the standard settings in seasons gone by, and that is the level and the benchmark off the back of this season as well. You know the quality that needs to come in, and yeah, I was disappointed with but it's similar with when I watched Liverpool. I'm trying to relate it back to Liverpool in the last couple of seasons. It's a bit of everything, and you've just got to focus on one game at a time, in all honesty.
Yeah, thanks, Jack and Stan. Craig says not to win the league at this stage is embarrassing. Yeah, listen, it's tough, and Jack will attest to that when you're going against City.
Yeah, for me, it's not embarrassing. He's still ahead of them in the Premier League. He's done amazing. Got Champions League football solidified. Revenues, the squad will improve. Everything's looking up, mate. And get obviously the knee-jerk reaction forever. But yeah, there's still a long way to go.
And look, I put this caption up here, Jack, because we did win all of these games, 23 wins. And until recently, we had only three draws. So I think you build up and you stockpile those wins, knowing the draws are going to come at some point in the season. Okay, Anfield. We were happy to take a point at Anfield. We feel like we can deal with that, but this one is going to hurt a little bit more for us. You know what I mean? And to keep throwing away these 2-0 leads away from home is tough as well. After we've been so good away from home, E20 Zone TV. Congratulations to the Hammers. You know, they dug in. They got a point against us. A 2-2 draw in the end. They took their chances where we didn't. Arsenal was excellent in the first half, but second half, West Ham were excellent as well. And I thought Declan Rice, Arteta's had it close. If he didn't know about Declan Rice, he knows about it now. And if we're going to go and break the bank for Declan Rice, then, you know, we know all we need to know about him now at this point in time. We had a week to prepare for this game. You would have thought that we just played on Thursday night. And then here's the other situation, Stan, is we're a little bit scratched in defensive depth now, you know. Rob Holding versus Antonio. Rob Holding had a tough day against Antonio. And Kieran Tierney came in as well.
Yeah, but, I mean, I don't know what people expect to happen. Everybody knew that Rob Holding is our backup. We don't have anybody else.
Yep.
So at some stage, if our centre backs need to be rotated, then he's going to play. You know, what are we supposed to do? Start tinkering around and putting Zinchenko in the centre of defence and Kieran Tierney and all these other wild suggestions that I hear. You know, at the end of the day, that's where Rob Holding is in the pecking order. And if he's not good enough, then the club need to be looking at upgrading on who's our second string, who our backups are. But at the moment, he's all we've got. You know, we've got that young kid who keeps appearing on the bench, Walters, who I don't know anything about, but you know, he's never going to get a shout ahead of a Rob Holding in a run-up, you know, to a title-winning campaign.
Yeah.
You know, but I also won't accept that. You know, it's all his fault either. You know, changing one player in the team shouldn't make that much of a big difference. It's a team game. It's not an individual game. You know, there's 11 players that are on the pitch and they all have to work together. And Rob Holding is a capable footballer. And he may not be better than some of our other players, but he's good enough to be playing in the Premier League, I think, you know.
Yeah. No, definitely. Whereas Saka had a great chance from 12 yards out to go 3-1 up. I think this is a different game. At 3-1, we go on. Maybe get another goal. It's a 4-1 scoreline we're talking about today. But if we're going to win this league, has to be defense, has to be better as well. You can't keep conceding 2 goals, Jack, in these last 2 games, you know.
And I want to mention Ramsdale, boys. I don't know how you feel watching that as a neutral. That second goal for me has to be doing much better. It's his front post. Yes, you can talk about the header and it was down into the ground. It was a difficult header. But, of course, you've got to stem that opportunity first from the get-go. But for me, Ramsdale's been absolutely exceptional this season. And that goes to Port stands at the nail on the head in terms of trying to not pick individual performances, but the moments we've had it with Alisson. You need the big players and big moments. Obviously, the Henrys, the Lundbergs, the Bergkamps, they've had their legendary moments in terms of title-winning seasons. It's about your big players stepping up at the right moments, at the right times, and pinnacle moments in a season. Ramsdale, they'll have better days in the next couple of weeks to know the end of the season, but And even Thomas Partey, boys, there was something off about Thomas Partey today. I've not seen that all season as a neutral.
Yeah.
He was absolutely ran ragged.
Looks like
Stan, you mentioned
today.
Yeah, something was on his mind, and I think Mikel Arteta directly mentioned players making flicks in midfield. Directly led to the first goal. Now, Gabriel Magalhaes, if you stand up there, the ball gets passed too far forward, and Rob Holding's there to clear for that penalty. Listen, I've got no issues with it being a penalty either. He goes right through the player. It's a penalty every day. And talking about Ramsdale, he did get fingertips to that shot, Jack, but obviously couldn't keep it out. Sam's here as well. Big up, Sam. West Ham are garbage, and once again we fell asleep after going 2-0 up. We sat back instead of keeping up the pressure. There's another team in this, but we didn't keep the hammer on. Not to use a pun, we didn't push our advantage home when we were playing really great football after 10 minutes. Had we kept up the same intensity in play after leading 2-0, we could have got another few goals at least. If we get that third goal, the game's essentially over at that point in time, halfway through the first half. Feels like a loss when you drop a 2-goal lead and draw, especially when missing a penalty as well. Yeah, for sure. And these are the things that City are going to seize upon, dropping 2 points here and at Anfield. It's a 4-point drop. And as you said, Jack, it's not all lost. We should beat Southampton and have a 7-point lead when we face Man City, but they will have those 2 games at hand. So that head-to-head, mentally speaking, Arsenal need to go there and prove we're good enough to win this thing, get a draw or a win there.
Yeah, stand up and being counted for. The start of this game today was excellent. I was like, Arsenal turned up 2-0 up, happy days. Didn't keep the foot on the throat really in terms of getting the opposition really putting the game to bed. But it's moments like this, and I think I still feel as a neutral, you can still do the job at City. There's been something weird about City for as good as they've been. Some reviews this season, there's something not quite right.
They can be got at. They can be got at.
And when I've watched Hughes in the past when he's played City, there's only a certain amount of teams that can get at Manchester City. A lot of the majority of Premier League teams are a bunch of cowards. Yes, you might say that they haven't got the resources, but you look at teams look at Palace, bloody hell. Even when they've done the business, they've helped us in previous seasons. But Liverpool, it was last year or the year before. I was at that bloody game.
Brentford.
Brentford at home.
3-3.
And Brighton dropping points where it was early on in the season, but it's a small moments like that, and you're like, you need to capitalise. But if Arsenal do get into position in the next couple of weeks, if City do slip up, you need to be there. And it's so pivotal.
Take advantage.
Take advantage.
Exactly. Sam goes on to say, feels like a loss when we drop a 2-goal lead and missing the penalty as well. Yeah. Arteta's been making poor subs lately and not adapting to the teams we play, putting us under pressure. We kept passing sideways and backwards, inviting pressure instead of playing direct. I do feel there's something, Stan, in this run-in that's going to make these players tighten up a little bit. It's new ground. We've never been here before. And as Jack said, we're kind of overachieving to the point of where we've been criticized, Stan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think we are overachieving, and that's not a bad thing. But before today, I think I looked at it and I think it was we could have 2 draws, but needed to win all the other games with certainty to win the league. Well, we've just used up one of those draws today.
Yep.
When I looked at the 2 draws, I was thinking maybe Newcastle and City, but it's still, it's the dream is still on, and I think as a football fan, you should still be able to dream, right? You don't have to be hard on yourself. You don't have to be hard on yourself and go, and it's over now. Enjoy it. I mean, I've really enjoyed this season. I mean, I only have to look back at the seasons before, which were diabolical. Having to come on here and talk about some of those games, over the last couple of seasons with you, right? It's been a nightmare, hasn't it? Twice a week we come on here and we've had to talk about basically a shit show. But I've really enjoyed it this season, And if we do miss out, as I said, if we do miss out on that top place, then I will be disappointed. But I do believe that we'll be in the hunt again next season.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do, right? You got to look at your mistakes. You've got to improve upon certain areas and come back the following season stronger than you were to try and keep pace with people.
Yeah, and look, like you say, Stan, we're not running a white flag up the pole right now. We're not waving the surrender, and we get a draw at the Etihad and we win out. Now it's going to mean going to Newcastle and winning there. We're capable of doing that if we pull our mentality together. Going away from home to places like Nottingham Forest and winning also. I'm going to take for granted that we can beat Brighton. Won't be easy at home. Chelsea won't be easy at home. And Wolves right at the end of the season won't be easy at home. But you have to still dream. If we get that one draw and 6 wins, and City, it's going to be very hard for City to win out as well and win every game. So we don't like it, but there's going to be lots of twists and turns in this season.
None of the games are easy, Ray. I mean, if this was like 2 months ago, looking at the fixture list, you would have identified today's fixture as 3 points in the bag.
For sure. Yeah.
It doesn't always pan out like that.
No.
There'll be, who knows, people are saying, oh, well, we only have to draw with Newcastle and draw with Man City. What if we beat both of those teams, but lose to other games in the running,
like
and we still lose the league?
Brighton at home. Yeah,
exactly.
Like that.
It's not going to pan out. And don't say, on paper we should beat this team. On paper we should beat that team. We don't play on paper. We play on a pitch.
Yeah, and we're going to support the team irrespective. Each and every game we were behind the team to get results. And yes, Dan, we have had some horrendous podcasts in terms of the results that Arsenal have been getting over the years. And I remember having a podcast with Jack and Dave 2-3 years ago, asking what's the way to attain success that Liverpool has had. And I think we're well on the way, Jack. It's about identifying the right players, putting a stable structure into the club, and identifying the right players with the right mentality. And I think we're on the way to doing that.
Yeah, just raise down and chat. Just look how poor Liverpool have been this season. Bloody hell. We went for the quad last year. We were under 80 minutes away from winning everything. Would have been mad. And obviously we've ran into a bloody brick wall this season. Of course, certain players aren't too good. And it could give us quite a lot of false expectations for the year. A lot of our players' legs have basically dropped off. The quality is not quite there in certain areas. But it's what Stan said, he's spot on. Like, just enjoy the moments, live in the moments.
Yeah.
The most frustrating thing for me and majority of Liverpool fans, obviously, it was the pandemic year, and we didn't quite get to celebrate the league. We were celebrating in the back garden, with your family members, and it wasn't quite special. But it would have rattled a lot of rival fans if we got the Premier League trophy out the year after in May and started parading it anyway. That would have been, why are you celebrating when you finish second? It's about living in the moment. Yes, if you do the unthinkable and win the league, great. Enjoy every second of it. That's part of being a parcel, as we all love being a football fan, regardless of if you're supporting a team in the confidence in the Premier League or whatnot. Just enjoy the ride. Whatever happens to now at the end of the May.
That's what Gary says. Enjoy the ride. Don't waste the trip. Craig said this Man City haven't been as good as other previous seasons. We will not get a better chance to win the Premier League this season, for sure.
I disagree with that, Ray, in terms of, I think they've only 2 points off the total in which they did have last season. So I think the expectation, Arsenal, given how amazing this year has been, just goes to show the level in which Arsenal have reached this season.
Yeah.
That is still
Exactly.
competing with City.
So, yeah, let's not say City have dropped off, but Arsenal have been so good this season. And
if you just look
City
at
playing,
like,
yeah.
I was just going to say, if you look at the last season, who would have thought Arsenal would be where they are now and Liverpool would be where they are now? You'd think it would be the other way round.
Yeah, and even Chelsea as well, as we mentioned earlier.
It's just the way. Exactly. Look how much money they've thrown over there at Chelsea, 600 million, and look where they are.
Even Reddy here is feeling down a little bit. There's no excuse for dropping points today. Definitely, Reddy. I mean, we're not happy about dropping points either. It happened. You have to take it, and you have to move.
Take your medicine and get on with it, and then go back into the next game.
Back into the next game. And it's got to be Southampton, and it's got to be a mentality of going to Man City and winning that game. I was a little bit worried. I'd like to have the points. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to have the extra 4 points, the extra 2 points. A little bit worried about going to the Etihad and thinking, oh, we can just take a loss here or we can take a draw. Because if you go in there with the mentality of just getting a draw, you're not gonna get a draw when you get in there with that mentality. Sam said we don't know what happens from season to season. Everyone said Newcastle would challenge this season with Chelsea and United. We just don't know. So I think Sam's saying I don't mind 1 point at Anfield, but letting West Ham pull back 2 goals and outplay us in the second half is just poor. We need to bounce back now. Stan, I think the biggest thing was after Saka's miss and we concede that goal, I'm thinking there's a lot of time. There's still a lot of time here. We really didn't work the goalkeeper or make any great chances to win that game.
No, and we've managed to find ways this season where we've gone behind and we've still managed to find a way back. So like yourself, Ray, even though when it was at 2-2, I still thought that we had enough time to find a way back to get a third goal and to put this one to bed. But it just wasn't to be today.
Yeah,
it just wasn't. Wasn't to be.
Yeah, listen, we have even overachieved in terms of winning games late. We won at Aston Villa. Look at Aston Villa under Unai Emery right now. They're steaming up the league, doing a great job there. We won late against Bournemouth. Yeah,
I was standing up in my bedroom going, "Yeah, for it."
I mean, it just like lifts the hairs on the back of your neck. And of course, we beat Man United, the great enemy.
Easy 6 points a season, that in it.
The late subs yet again shows that Arteta still needs to learn a few more tricks to match Pep. Stan, I want to go into the untouchables here. There's 2 untouchables, one for a good reason, one for not a good reason, in my opinion. But Bukayo Saka is an untouchable. You can't seems like you cannot substitute him because he's always going to give you something. That's the reason you can tell yourself he's always going to give you something. He can win the game in the last minute. The other one that always stays on the field, Granit Xhaka, for completely different reasons.
I have to disagree with you though, because Granit Xhaka has been withdrawn a number of times this season for teabag, right? We've seen that happen.
Yeah, Fabio Vieira, yep.
So,
but, again, you can make a case for being a little bit more offensive. Take Granit Xhaka off, put Trossard in there, put even Jorginho in there, put Vieira in there, and he stays on the field, Stan. For me, it's just a little bit exasperating.
I think as well, though, he took off Gabriel Jesus, and I think he wanted to keep a couple of people on the pitch that have a little bit of the experience about them, which again, I'm surprised that he keeps taking our captain out. He'll take Odegaard out ahead of other. But again, Odegaard is a player that even in the 89th minute or the 95th minute, he can provide you a killer pass.
Yeah,
I mean that goal that he scored today was a good goal on the volley. It was a very good goal.
The season is Odegaard's technique there with that cross coming over. He knew he was getting onto it. Just had to get a really good contact on it and steer it in from there. 2-0. As you say, I'm thinking we got to tack a few more goals on. Didn't happen. Sam said the season's not over. City have Champions League, FA Cup games to think about. and that away game at Brighton. It could be banana skin. And I think rescheduling that Brighton game, they're going to have to play, I think, Everton away from home, Brighton away from home, and they
I'd just
finish,
like to answer something in the chat box. Yeah, of course, says Saka is your Mo Salah. He can win the game at any time. It's a risk to take him off, and I'm kind of half with that. But there's another half of me that says that sometimes by withdrawing a player like Saka and putting someone else in, it helps Saka to understand that I'm not untouchable here.
Yeah,
because sometimes I think that if you have players that are untouchable, for example. We went for so many seasons of not really having anyone other than Hector Bellerin to play at right back. I'm sure there were games where he was having a stinker, and you, in the middle of the game, you end up talking to yourself and conning yourself. You say to yourself, "I'm having a bit of a stinker, but I'll make up for it. I'll make up for it next week. You watch me make up for it next week." And they say that because they know that they're going to get picked next week.
Yeah.
If you draw players now and then, it gives them a little bit of it just gives them a little bit of a boot up the arse, right? Knowing that they're not untouchable, and if they don't, if they don't play to the required standard, that the manager isn't afraid to give somebody else an opportunity. And there's a little bit of that I like. I like that.
It also helps a player like Reece Nelson, who's sitting on the bench, sitting behind maybe Bukayo Saka, and he knows if Bukayo's not on it one day, he can mentally G himself up and say, maybe I got a chance here. I'm going to come on for 25, 30 minutes as well. So it helps your squad. I think what's hindering...
Especially when that player has come on and produced something in the past. He's done it a number of times this season when he's been allowed to come into the game. He hasn't just come on and made up the numbers. He's come on and actually produced.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think definitely what hinders us is the quality of our first 11. Mentally, maybe our squad players think they're not going to be given a chance, or they can't sustainably dislodge a player because Martinelli's so good, because Saka's so good. You know, our first 11 almost name themselves, and I think that's a big challenge for us when we're starting to pad the squad out, even in the last few windows. And the ones coming up, Jack.
Yeah, I was going to say you could probably draw parallels with Liverpool, and obviously that great forward line with Firmino, Salah, Mane when they were in tip-top form. Anyway, they were basically everyone in Europe knew the team sheet for Liverpool. Obviously, with the midfield and the defense as well, and that's where Liverpool, as we know this season,
prospered.
Have massively hit the roadblocks at the minute. Teams have figured a way and a formula of how to play Liverpool. Just getting at Trent, getting down Liverpool's right-hand side, our inability in terms of from a defensive point of view to shut out teams and really control the game. But I think even today's performance, I think it was Odegaard was massively let down by Xhaka and obviously Thomas Partey. As I've already alluded to, you all watched that game, or Partey, whatever was happening today, but you haven't got, say, an example, a Thomas Partey to come back in off the bench, and it's a like-for-like replacement. But that goes to show next season with the Champions League money, they're reinvesting into the squad. It's about bridging that gap in between certain areas of the pitch where you can like-for-like quality. Of course, in certain areas, you're not going to get adequate, because similar with us with Salah, you're not going to get a player for anywhere less than 60-odd million to really come in and be on that level. But it's, for me, I've always, especially this season, I've enjoyed. One thing I've loved about Arsenal is the amount of men that you do commit forward, hence where you are in the league. You've got, and that's where I think you struggle today in terms of Partey and Xhaka not doing that defensive duties, covering the spaces, obviously with no Zinchenko in terms of him floating into the middle, creating that 6 role, creating channels and those passing lanes. You just didn't really get enough players in the box, which seems mad, but it was that, and we see with the Jared Bowen thing with the counter-attack. West Ham are a weird team, one of the best at counter-attacking sides in the Premier League. Yes, they've not been the best, but the players that they have at their disposal, they allow themselves to have quick counter-attacks. Even we drew in one of those seasons where we did miss out on the league. It was a shocking... Yeah, that was a draw. Yeah, I think it was a 1-1 as well. They they can do it. West Ham, they'd always been a
On their day.
Yeah, on the day.
Exactly. As Charlie's in here, a top lad, West Ham, can't stick around, but just drop it in and say, good game, mad one-off, great performance from us today, and if he's showing from you, Partey and Holding especially, please beat City to the title, we need it. And I always think anyone who can beat City to the title, it's good for football, you know what I mean?
It'd just be like the Bundesliga, lads. If City win the next 9 out of 10 league titles.
And I think, as you and Doug and Dave has said before, we need more teams that can challenge City and make the league from top down to from the top to maybe the 6th place, have 3 or 4 teams in there competing. Really says losing so many points from winning positions does not bode well for a title challenging team. Yeah, and this is a blip, Stan. We talked about these blips, and we can't have too many D's or L's together. You know, we got to start putting some W's on the board now after having these 2 draws. Ross says he's better idea of the subs to make. You would just go to Subway and get a foot long, Russ. Saka had a really bad day by his standards. I would have kept Jesus on and taken Saka off. Trossard came on as a forward and was never in the box. You know, I've talked about this. Saka, he's had a couple of bad games now, and it's not a bad thing if you sit him a bit and bring another player in. We have Trossard who can play there, and competition, 4 players to fill 3 spots is not a bad thing. And that's
still so young, right, though, as well in his developments. It's ridiculous how young he still is. But the level in which he's reached this season as well, it's remarkable.
Course is here. The problem Arsenal fans are struggling with is they're so close to glory, but if you looked objectively, it's the best season Arsenal have had since I was a baby. And that's the thing. Hopefully we can do it for the first time in 19 years. Saka is your Mo Salah. He can win a game at any time. It's a risk to take him off. At some point, you have to say it's been 60 minutes and it hasn't happened. So you got to bring a fresh face in and fresh legs as well, because I think we've been looking, Stan, a little bit tired of late. And don't go to 66 minutes. Like, make it to 50, 55 minutes and bring some fresh players on, because those players need about 10 minutes to get up to speed as well.
Yeah, I think Mikel Arteta really needs to understand that it can't just all be about a first 11, that he needs to have like a first 16 or so. Mm-hmm. He has to have other players that he's willing to bring in and trust and allow to come onto the game when they've got fresh legs. Yeah, they may not be better than the player that's coming off, but they're coming on in the part of the game where maybe they've got fresher legs and they're going to be able to go at the defenders of the other team and make something happen. And sometimes I think that he's a little bit loath. He's just a little bit loath to do that. You know, if he wants to play the same 11 every game for 90 minutes, it seems at times.
I think it's because he knows he's not going to have the same quality on the field and the same structure to maintain possession.
But it's very difficult to have, 22 players, all of, top draw elite quality. That's 2 teams. It's not everybody can play at the same time. How do you do that?
At some point,
look at Liverpool. Jack was just touching on, the 3 that they had playing up front that was so successful for them. But at times, you'd see Divock Origi come off the bench and he would produce as well. Again, he wasn't just coming in to be a body to take up that place. He'd come in and produce, And he obviously was able to keep Divock Origi interested enough so that Divock Origi didn't go, fuck this, I want more time, I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah. And even Minamino as well. Even Minamino as well. So those players are almost auditioning for their move, because Minamino's moved on, right? To another place. Sam said, Russ, you're right. Strange decisions. We also sit back and let teams come at us when they have the boost of scoring. We look naive in those situations, and it needs to change. I also think by not making substitutions more readily, you're demotivating some of your squad as well. They're sitting on the bench, looking at what's happening and thinking, I could be out there making and helping to make an impact. Welcome to Jamie Phillips Football Chats as well. Big up, lads. Mass, thanks for the Anfield crowd dropping in as well, supporting Jack here. We're heading towards the point in the season where we completely we're heading towards the point in the season where we completely bottled top 4 last season. And listen, it's really hard to win the league. You got to be the best of the best, and you got to be in these moments, Jack. You got to be perfect, right?
And going into next season as well, lads. Whatever happens this year, and Stan spot on. I've been speaking to you all season in terms of late night shows. It's about getting the right players in, and Arteta, it's going to hit him like a bloody train next year, because when you're playing Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, and you've got FA Cup games, League Cup games.
Yep.
And as Stan alluded to, you need to improve that quality from your 12 to 16 to 17 players.
Yep.
That core needs to improve massively. And similar with Liverpool, we've been negligent in terms of our midfield issues. Like 3 seasons are more or less gone by, and we've only signed Thiago as our as a midfielder. That's not good enough. It's about the improvements in Brighton, the improvements in bloody Aston Villa. You never know what's going to happen with them. Newcastle, they're going nowhere no time soon, as we know, sadly. But it's about improving that, and it's going to be a test for Arteta. I think it's a test. He's still so young in his management career, but he's learned from probably one of the best managers ever to manage in world football, as we know, Pep Guardiola. It's about him putting his foot down and really, you'll learn a lot in the next 10 weeks about certain individual players as well. That you probably will go into next year, obviously with the likes of Nketiah coming on if he improves. But it's about bridging that gap in quality. But you'll cross to that bridge when it comes to you. But I think Arteta's going to be very surprised. He'll be coming out with comment, and everyone jokes and laughs about Jurgen Klopp coming out and defending his players and some of his comments. They look bad from an outside point of view, but at the end of the day, he's just protecting his team. And Arteta will be exactly the same in certain press conferences where he's having to come out and defend his players.
So let's delve into that a little bit, Jack and Stan. We've seen the All or Nothing documentary, and I was watching it even last night, trying to mirror what happened last season. We lost up at Newcastle. Horrible feeling for the players to have that dead feeling. You're going back into a dressing room and you've lost top 4 by the minimum. You needed to win the game and you lost it in that second half. To have that dead feeling, really, you want your players to feel that from last season, take it into this season and use it positively, which I think they have done. But as you alluded to, Jack, is Mikel Arteta too loyal to some of these players, or does he need them? Because he talks about taking the shit for the players, which all good managers should do, right? But is there too much? Is there favorites there?
Of course.
Go ahead, Stan.
I was just saying, unless your name is Antonio Conte, then you don't take no shit from the players, mate.
Yeah.
They're on their own.
I mean, that's the worst thing you can do is go public in a press conference and just go ballistic on your players.
Mad. That was mad.
That's when you really want out, But is there a feeling that Klopp protects some of his players, is too loyal to them as well?
And I've said this, and you probably watch my streams, mate. This season, I've already said, it has caught up with us massively. For as good and as much as every Liverpool fan loves James Milner, there are certain players in that team that should have gone 2-3 years ago in terms of improving the quality. They've been legendary players and they will go down. They've given me the best years in 27 years as a supporter of Liverpool. The journey these lads have taken us on. But football is all about winning. Of course, you can remember the players when they retired and everything, but football, first and foremost, you need to start winning games of football. And Liverpool this year have been massively found out in terms of midfield departments, as I've said. You have probably watched Liverpool as a neutral and went, what? They're an absolute bloody mess. And we have been a mess this year. But there's some players, Milner, what a pro, but he should have been moved on about 2 years ago. Milner was good when he had legs, or when he had a lot more energy to give anyway. Still beats all those tests, weirdly. The man would be about 50, and he'd probably be still the fittest Premier League player. Every Liverpool fan jokes about Milner getting a contract extension. He'll be still playing until 2050. Big up there, Del Boy. But yeah, sentimentality has very much crept into Liverpool's game in the last 2 years. But it's understandable, especially when us as a football club we've been craving to be back up to the top elite table. Jurgen Klopp has took us on such a journey. And of course, I'm not going to question Jurgen Klopp. Yes, we'll question certain individual performances, but I think Jurgen Klopp's learned a lot this season about certain individual players that he needs, and he'll know this summer. But we've got the budget of Tranmere Rovers currently. Sadly, I wish we had the budget of Manchester City or Newcastle, but we haven't got those type of owners.
That's tough.
Yeah, but that's the reality of the majority of other teams. But try being a Bournemouth fan, and it's Rich speaking, but me Bournemouth mates, they say to me, Jack, you've got a lot more money than our club, and it's understandable. But I think when you speak about Newcastle and City, the finances that they have currently got. Stan alluded to teams having. It's impossible to have 24 players in your squad and have two teams. City have had two championship winning teams for the last 10 years. Their second team could basically win the Premier League. I'd agree, mate. But Arteta's done a learn a lot, and of course, but he's still early stages in his young Arsenal career. For the mistakes he makes this year, he'll make up for in the next couple of years. He'll learn so much from it.
I hope that he's learned. I had hoped that he learned from Anfield, not to roll the dice too long and actually roll the dice quicker and make those changes, which sort of happened today as well. And I think we ran out of steam as well. Mr. Tom, we'll talk about Leeds a little bit later for you, Jack, as well, toward the end of the stream. I love James Milner, Leeds fan here. Evening, gents. This is impossible. The same run of form as last year at roughly the same time. We were losing games, but now we're drawing them. So it's still small crumb of comfort there, but still we need to get back to W's. Assembled, it is worrying that our form is dropping at the worst time. Starting to look like last season, but I hope we bounce back now. Do you get a sense, Jack, that did this happen to Liverpool? Like the steamroller that is City, it just continues to gather pace. And if you stumble, it feels like more than just 2 points dropped. You know what I mean?
It's unprecedented, lads and chat. Like what they've done, and of course, as at the top of the show, yes, you still got to win, but it really does be heading. You've got the sound City fans out there that are lovely, but then you get I suppose like that. It's like that with every fan.
They're everywhere.
It was.
You got one guy there that supports Liverpool and the west of Ireland. We won't talk about him, right?
No comment.
They're everywhere.
It's mad though. But you look at when the City fans were booing this team off this season, booing this team that has literally got you off 4 or 5 league titles. The thing that Arsenal and Liverpool, we pride ourselves in having history as a football club. We've been here, done that. We've been here, wore the badge and everything. We know what it is to win. And that with that comes expectation as well, but also a realistic viewpoint for the majority of our fan bases. And the large majority of Arsenal fans know he's ahead of time. But of course, when you're in the moment and you need to be, especially if you miss out just narrowly, but that's football. You won a title at Anfield or too long ago anyway. And the madness that was that game, it does happen, but that's the beauty sometimes of football, mate. But yeah, they just do me head in, City. Really just do my head in. It's almost like Football Manager, to say the least.
Yeah. Anyway. Stan, as Jack mentioned, and I have in my notes here, Arsenal need a moment like Anfield 89 like Old Trafford 1998 with Mark Overmars winning that game up at Old Trafford, like Will Tord scoring at Old Trafford to win the league there, and then like again, sorry Jack, beating Liverpool 4-2 in 2004, which turned the tide for the Invincibles as well. We need that kind of moment at Man City. Until this team, we're never going to do it till we do it, right?
No, you're right, and I think you have to put a lot of that not at the manager's door, but at the player's door. Like someone just while you were talking sent me a message, and part of the message it says Arteta needs to tighten up the team. Why is he finding it difficult to hold on to a lead? I would answer that with why are the players finding it hard to hold on to a lead?
Yeah.
Mikel Arteta can only do so much from the bench and setting the team up, but the players have to be able to make decisions for themselves while they're on the pitch. They also have to take a hand of some of the in-game management and know when to give, know when to go. Do you know what I mean? Mikel Arteta can't take the penalty for Saka and put it in the back of the net. Saka has to do that himself. So I think sometimes the players, they need to take a little bit more responsibility of their in-game management as well as the manager.
And I think you'll agree with me, Stan. If Saka gets another penalty, if Arsenal get another penalty, Saka should take it. Because he's
our penalty taker, isn't he?
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah.
He seems to be the one. It only seems to be when he's not on the pitch, which is rare, that somebody else takes the penalties.
Mm-hmm. There will be people, podcasters, asking, should we have a different penalty taker? I know it's happening.
We've got that with Salah currently. He's missed 2 absolute. Well, saying that, Liverpool we've only been given 2 penalties this season in the Premier League, which is mad, but that's all another podcast for another night anyway.
Right. Samuel, go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I've questioned that, but as I said, you would say, I think Saka before this in the Prem, I think he'd only missed 1 prior penalty. I think we've seen the graph on today's show. It was the right-hand side. I don't know what game that was, but yeah, just keep it with Saka. I don't know. I thought Gabriel was going to take it, given you kept on knocking the ball down. But as you say, mate, your designated penalty taker should usually take it anyway.
Yeah. Samuel said, Sam, hopefully Saka looked jaded today, not doing our best in cup games. Could come back to bite us. This 1 game a week seems to have us a little off the pace. I think I'd counter it. I don't think we have.
We can't win, right? Because it was only
we don't have the squad.
Yeah, I agree with you. A month or so ago, the argument was, well, we've only got 1 game a week. We should be playing better. City have to worry about the Champions League as well. Now it's like 1 game a week. It's not enough.
I'd rather put if I have like £2, I put it all on the Premier League, and I wouldn't put £1 on the Premier League and £1 on the Europa League, because you'll get nothing if you do that. You have to go we had to go all in on one competition, and yes, we had a nice, healthy buffer, and we still have a 4-point lead over City with them having that game in hand. So
I honestly think that we maybe only have got as far as we have because we are out of the other competition of the other competitions. Yeah. This is a young team, and it's only up until recently that we were able to reinforce with Trossard and Jorginho.
I think Kivior even.
To get where we are now, I do believe it's because we haven't had to have played as many games.
And as Jack said, next season we'll be in the Champions League, we'll be in cup competitions, and we'll be expected to rubber stamp a top 4 finish as well to continue Champions League. And you're going to have a well-rounded squad to do that. Hopefully we get a couple of players from midfield this summer coming. There's going to be probably a long saga with Declan Rice or Caicedo. None of those 2 will be easy. And Arsenal historically don't make transfers easy. We've looked over at Liverpool, and one day you're talking about a player, the next day he's in the door.
Tell you what, though, we're getting linked to even me man at this rate to play midfield, because it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, it's going to be a big summer, like for both clubs.
You better be careful, though. You probably find that Chelsea will probably come in and gazump the deal for your ma and take her to Stamford Bridge.
She makes decent scrans anyway, so I'd expect at least 50 mil or something like.
So when you talked about James Milner, we have a player called El Neni as well. It's kind of similar vibe there. We've given him another year, maybe for sentimental reasons. Who knows? Some are saying.
You never know how good they are. We alluded to Iggy, right, but before, but you never know. He could have
behind the scenes.
Yeah, he could be a massive cheerleader.
No,
he's a great example.
He's a great example behind the scenes, and he's a decent player as well. Let's not underestimate his abilities. There's things he can't do, obviously, but he's not a back pass or side pass player. He can play progressive passes as well. I know Stan and I are always fighting against that El Neni perception. How confident are you guys about winning every game? Because we've all seen City do it. It might all come down to who's the most experienced. Stan, I couldn't say right now, hand on heart, that we're going to win every game other than the City game. Even if we draw City, I couldn't say right now we're going to win every game on the back of this West Ham performance. But I do think City will drop points, right? I do think City will drop points.
For sure. I was just about to say, on the same token, I wouldn't put money on City winning every single game. Yeah. You'd have to be a low amount of money to maybe a quid. You know what I mean?
I'd agree, Stan. There's something. He's a freak of nature, Haaland, as we all know. But it's amazing when you can pay a striker 600 grand a week, isn't it? What deal? It's unprecedented, really. But I'd agree there, Stan. I think there's definitely if you can capitalise, there's defo a stumble there from Manchester City.
Yeah. Stan, I don't know how much longer you can stay. Jack is going to leave in a few minutes, but if you've got to go, Stan, that is absolutely fine.
No, I'm good. I'm still in bed. That's why I haven't got my camera on. I'm sat in bed.
All right. So since Jack's here for another...
I just wanted to spare everybody the image of me in my Incredible Hulk dressing gown.
All right. No problem. I'll use Jack for the next 4 or 5 minutes. You got to go then, Jack, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's obviously Jurgen Klopp is the real deal, right? Do you see anything in Arteta that tells you that he can't get to those levels?
This season is the proof that Arsenal is like the proof in the pudding, really, mate, for this season. I know he's a young, inexperienced still, but as I go back to my point I mentioned before, the experience, not just the players, but in terms of the management as well. He'll learn a lot from his own in-game and goes back to today's game in terms of his reactions as to certain substitutions being too late. He'll probably be kicking himself come what the end of the season. He'll know where he's gone wrong. And we've seen off the back of last year's disappointing in terms of missing out on top four, and he's made tweaks and changes. But yeah, massively. You look at the Premier League, you look at Liverpool, City, Arsenal, I think Brighton as well, under Potter, Brentford, obviously Thomas Frank. The stability is a key word. The lack of instability from the majority of 75% of the teams in the Premier League. We've mentioned Chelsea, Tottenham. These clubs haven't even got a bloody Scooby-Doo what they're going to be doing from week to week. They don't even know who the manager is, the players. So Liverpool, well, especially Arsenal, are in a massive, good, positive moment. And it will continue. I expect you to challenge next season. It's just about getting that right balance, as it has been with Liverpool in recent seasons, in terms of doing well in Europe and doing well in the Premier League. And if you can strike that right balance, then you'll be great. You'll be sorted.
Okay, I know Virgil van Dijk was very good when you won the title, right? You're really good at the back. Was your defense more lauded in terms of winning the league for you, or was it the front four players, 3 or 4 players?
Great question.
What would you hang your hat on won the league for you?
Ali, having a good goalkeeper wins titles. We've seen that with obviously the Leymans, the Van der Sars, the Schmeichels, and checks as well. You'd always need a top-class goalkeeper. And I say Ramsdale's had a very good season this year. But I think for Alisson Becker, it's chalk and bloody cheese. We've had Simon Mignolet, and then jumping from him to Alisson Becker. He's a bloody god amongst men. Is you have probably watched. If it wasn't for him this season, Liverpool would probably be scrapping it out with Everton football club, sadly. But he's the Champions League final as well. He's superb. And
we had a season. We had a season a few years ago when we had Bernd Leno and Aubameyang, and this was when Aubameyang was scoring goals, and those were the two players we hung our hat on for the majority of the season.
I'd always say that great saying though, lads. Defenses win titles, and they always do. So
that's the one area you see Arsenal needing to tighten up on defensively.
Yeah, definitely. I think Tierney you can't really hang your hat on, and given his injury record, similar to Liverpool's midfield. If you're looking in terms of playing 2 games a week, it's about getting the right balance. I love Ben White. He's been absolutely phenomenal, but obviously Tomiyasu being in and out anyway. But I think you need a couple more centre halves in terms of, as we've already spoke about today, Rob Holding, when he comes in, not quite that level. We've had to bring Canate in, Gomez, very weird Joe Gomez. He can play good one week, be one of the world's best centre halves, and then next week he can turn into Dejan Lovren.
I know you're going in a couple of minutes, so a quick word. I know Tom might be watching here. So what do you think about your game tomorrow? Leeds, Liverpool.
Not looking forward to it. Leeds beat us at Anfield not too long ago anyway. Somerville. Noto, is it Noto, the young Italian lad? Been one of the he's been one of the surprises of the season. Great signing. But Leeds last year, they're a weird team. They've got to be very careful in terms of where they do find themselves in the league, as do a lot of teams down there. I'd say I'm confident, lads, but you have probably watched as a neutral. Champions League quality at home, and then Conference League quality, or that's a disrespect to the Conference League. League One away form, in all honesty. It's been ridiculous. Like when we've gone away from home this season,
you're right down there.
It's the mentality which has probably stunk the place out, in all honesty. Yes, you can talk about individual qualities here and foremost, but at the end of the day, whether you're top of the league, bottom of the league, it all comes down to the mentality. Liverpool have absolutely been abysmal. But it comes down to teams running us off the park. If you're not willing to put in the hard graft, whether you're playing City one week and then we get beat by Forest the week after, it's the mentality. You can't really put a finger on it, but it only comes down to the mentality for me, mates. I'd say I'm confident, but we're away from home. So
it's so weird. Liverpool's season right now is so weird. The discrepancy between home and away. Finally, any words of comfort for Arsenal and the remaining games?
Keep it up, lads. I know you'll be going to bed or waking up in the morning from around the globe. Still plenty of games to go. Don't bloody... probably I'd say best advice, don't be looking on social media.
Stan knows that already.
Just try and not dwell too much. Speak to your family, do the podcast as well, and then log off for the night. Because if you dwell too much on social media, especially when we were going for the leagues, your head will well and truly roll off your shoulders.
How did you do it for 5 years?
Just done my videos, uploaded them, and just enjoyed it. And it goes to what I mentioned before, lads. Just enjoy the moment. And Arsenal are in such a positive stage as a football club in terms of recruitments, the management. Arsenal have been crying out for a manager of Arteta's quality since Wenger left for a very long time. So he's got the man. Keep the faith in him. He's done wonders this season.
Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, and Saka's allowed a bad game. So has a lot of other players. I wish we had Saka and bloody Martinelli in our team. Tell you that now. And
Well, we were looking at Liverpool saying, I wish we had a Salah and Mane. And, we got similar players now there as well. So
you should well and truly bridge that gap, boys. You should be sound.
Tom wants to know, any chance you'll let Leeds win tomorrow? No, they won't. They won't just let you win. You got to earn it, Tom. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you what, Tom. If it means it's part of Jurgen Klopp, he's playing 5D chess. If it means Everton go down, Tom,
we'll do it. I actually think they may go down as well, Jack. Everton,
they
Southampton, and Leicester will go down, I feel. Jack, I think it's time to say goodbye to you. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Yeah, no, massive thank you, lads. Obviously, Stan, great doing a podcast. It's been meaning to get it on anyway, but I really do appreciate it, lads.
Thanks for coming over.
But massive thank you, Ray, as well.
Thanks, Jack, for your time.
See you later, everyone. Keep it heads up.
Have a good one, mate. Enjoy your week.
See you later, boys.
That was Jack Mack, Anfield Road TV. If you have any time or to yourself, go check out his channel when you have the moment to do it. All right, Stan, I think we'll just round up for another 10 or 15 minutes or whatever you're up for. We'll go through the what happened today. We talked about it, right? But we played some great football first 10 minutes, but then seemed to die away, and it's some kind of mentality. Do you think it's a mentality thing that's setting in for us now? Or is it it's something we can overcome, I think, right?
We've got a young team that are playing a lot of football, and we don't have a lot of we don't have a lot of players that we can heavily rotate with. We've got a couple of key players out. I just think this is the way it is at the moment for us. The team is trying. I'm not seeing a team that's ambling around and not trying to win the league. But all because we're trying as hard as we can doesn't mean it's going to happen. It may just be, it may be just a bridge too far for us at this moment in time. As long as we can maintain this fight and continue to be the hot contender, chomping at the heels of City, and steadily improve. I mean, some of the takes I've seen, I see one person saying that if we don't win the title this season, then Arteta has to go. Okay, Arteta has to go, but who's coming in? Who are you bringing in?
Definitely.
And the manager.
Are you going to get one of those like Graham Potter? I'm sure they'll go with a Graham Potter or Brendan Rodgers or. Why would you do that and tear down the progress that we're in? For God's sake, we're 4 points ahead, albeit one game extra played.
And the manager can make a difference. I mean, if you look at Chelsea, for example, when Frank Lampard was the manager the first time round, and then they got rid of him and brought in Tommy Tickle, he was operating with the same players, but the results were different. And, you only have to look at what's happened at Crystal Palace. They've got rid of Pat. They brought back in Roy. You see it's almost like looking at a different team,
Yeah.
So the manager does play some part. So it's okay saying, well, if we lose this season, the manager has to go. But who are you going to bring in? Is it going to be someone that this team's going to be able to respond to?
It's hard to know with Patrick Vieira and Crystal Palace, because they played really, really the top 10 or 12 teams, and then they fired Patrick Vieira on St. Patrick's Day. How do you like that? And then they had easier games coming that Roy Hodgson took and won games with Palace with. Patrick Vieira might well have turned it around and got the wins that Roy Hodgson is getting right now.
The thing is with Patrick Vieira, and as much as I love Patrick Vieira, his tactics were all over the place, and some of the way that he was using some of his players, it sounded, it did look like from a distance that he was at sometimes trying to put square pegs into round holes.
Yeah, and the player who wasn't.
In situations like that, you bring it on yourself a little bit like how Unai Emery was with us. He seems to be doing a great job over there at Villa, but with us, sometimes he didn't make it easy for himself with the way that he would deploy certain players. Look at Lucas Torreira.
And people also feel the fit now for Unai Emery. Aston Villa are the perfect fit for him, without the high profile clubs. You know what I mean?
Well, let's see. I mean, he took us on quite a long unbeaten run.
Yeah.
didn't he?
Yeah.
He was on quite a long unbeaten. I can't remember how many games it was. It was quite a long one.
22, 24.
He wasn't able to go the distance and remain our manager. So, you know, I'm happy for him, man. I'm pleased with what's happening for him.
Yeah, definitely love what Unai Emery's doing up there. Isambo said, Ray, City's form should not affect us once we do our job. That's the key part. Once we do our job, we're not doing our job. City are doing theirs. That's the difference. And Stan,
form's an important thing though, because you know it looks like that. It looks like that Man City, from where they were at the beginning of the season to now, they look more consistent, don't they? Now,
and you know what? Beginning
of the season,
form is important.
Whereas we don't.
Momentum is important, and how you get there is important as well. Like if we would win this from behind, it would be great. But if we can win this from the lead, but City haven't closed up on us, it's important where you get there and how you get there as well. You know, exactly. We need to take care of consistency, momentum. We need to take care of our own business and not worry about them. But plain facts are, yesterday they had the game won after 10, 15 minutes, and we didn't have the game won today after 10, 15 minutes. So that's the unfortunate thing about it. Doug, the Dugout channel here is, good evening, Doug. Draws will feel like defeats in title race. We've been there with Man City. City's to lose with a game in hand. That game versus City is so pivotal now. However, I'm looking at you versus Chelsea and Newcastle. You need maximum points.
It was only 1 or 2 seasons ago where if we came away, you know, with a point, we'd be going, oh man, what a hard-fought point that was. You know, we really got that precious point. Now we're at a stage where we're looking at draws and we just look at it and go, oh, that's 2 points dropped.
Yeah.
Because the wheel has turned for us. The wheel of fortune for Arsenal has changed. So we're looking at things now through a different lens, right? You know, these aren't, you know, these draws aren't precious points that we gain. It's now we're in a situation where we lose 2 points, and that's out of the last 2 games. That's 6 points that have been on the table. We've walked away with 2.
I will say though, Stan, and big up Mahir in the chat as well. You see the LDL there. We know where we lost Everton. We lost to City. After that, we lost to City. For about 3 days, City were ahead of us. They went top of the table. And we went again winning, how many was it? 7 games. We won 7 games in a row. And we were able to go again. So this team has shown disappointment, but have gone again as well. And that's what we're asking them to do again, starting on Friday when Southampton visit. I'm sorry, my Arsenal friends, but City are going to win it. That'll be the narrative now, you know. It's City's to lose, or maybe it'll help us a little bit if people start talking that way. You know what I mean?
I look at it this way. When other fans say, "Well, you know, City's gonna win it," I'm like, "Okay, well, you didn't beat them this season, did you? They still finished up. They finished higher than your team."
Yeah. Arsenal squad are in position.
And I would ask those people, how far away do you think you are to closing the gap to that team as well?
Yeah, and as Jack said, other teams like Man United and Newcastle need to make the league more competitive, need to be able to go toe-to-toe with Man City. As Jack said, some teams are in the tunnel with Man City. They've already lost the game before it even kick a ball. You know what I mean? Arsenal squad are in the position that they can manage. It's the same for City squad. So maybe it's the way we're using our squad that is the difference. There's definitely some mistakes out there in terms of our substitutions and the mentality in the team, because we had 35 minutes to go and rectify that 2-2 result and get the winner. Have Arsenal won at the Etihad since Man City were founded? Yeah, we won 2010, I think it was, with Cazorla. Vieira had a really tough run of fixtures before he was booted. That's true.
Just felt like Patrick never helped himself, though. He could have helped himself a bit more.
Yeah. Emery had to deal with problems.
He seemed a very stubborn manager. That he weren't changing his thoughts and how he should be doing it.
I think Eze scored 2 goals yesterday against Southampton, and he had been kind of frozen out by Patrick Vieira a little bit. Didn't get the equal shake of the stick. City played themselves into form from the middle of December.
Correct.
It's the way City go. That's the way they. I have a couple of notes underlined. This team is so talented, Stan, but we always seem to give ammunition to our rivals, and maybe ammunition to some of our own fan base that don't believe. Until a breakthrough is made, there will always be questions until we make a breakthrough and win something.
I'll tell you when I felt that we weren't going to get everything that we wanted to get out of this game was when we were playing from right to left. I think that was in the first half. We got all the way up to the side of their penalty box with Martinelli. We've been passing the ball all the way up the pitch, working it nicely, and then I just watched, and then from being on the sort of like right on the left-hand side of their penalty box with the ball, we then for some reason decided to pass the ball all the way back down the field to Aaron Ramsdale.
Yeah,
and I thought to myself, like, surely the closer you get to the goal, the more dangerous you are, because at the end of the day, it's about putting the fucking ball into the back of the fucking net. So why did we pass the ball all the way up to their penalty area and then go all the way back down to ours? We passed the ball all the way back to the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
The ball wasn't taken off of us, and we had to like chase them down and collect it back. We passed the ball all the way back to our goalkeeper. And when I saw that, I thought to myself, that ain't good.
Watching that All or Nothing again and coming in from the Newcastle game, how dejected the players were. I hope they're feeling that today. I hope they're feeling that they'll let 2 points get away today.
And they want to win the league as much as us, maybe more.
Yeah,
that's their job. That's their
livelihood.
Exactly, it's the whole thing.
Yep. Mr. Tom said, "Read it in full, Ray. Leaving out the joke. Here we go. Have Arsenal won at the Etihad since Man City were founded in 2008? Got it.
You took off the punchline.
Did I still miss something there?
No, you got it right that time. But
got it right that time. Okay. All right. What else? Is there anything else you want to add to this, Dan? For me, it's what are we missing a trick with Trossard somewhere? Should we be trying to shoehorn him in somewhere?
I'm like, when we bought him, obviously because of the way that we've been playing, he looked like he was going to be a backup player to a couple of players.
Mm-hmm.
But since he's been utilised, he is. I think sometimes he's played his way into the first team. He's earned it, as far as I can see, with the contributions that he's made. So I was very surprised to see him sitting in the Liverpool game.
Mm-hmm. 78
minutes. I'm very much that. If you've gone out and you spent 60 million on a striker, and you've got another striker that you've maybe only paid 7 million for has come through your academy, the price doesn't mean anything. It's dependent on what's happening in training and who's in form. If at some point that £7 million striker is coming off the bench in games in a row and making things happen, then you got to start him. And I think that it's a little bit, Trossard has been a little bit unlucky that he's still coming off the bench. And today, when he came off the bench today, again, there wasn't enough time.
Where do you play him?
Too late. Where do you play him?
Yeah.
Well, there's a number. Oh, there's variety, isn't there? You could play him in 4 positions, as I can see. You could either play him in Xhaka's, Martinelli, Saka's, or Jesus' position. Take your pick. It doesn't mean that the player that he goes in for misses out. It just means that they come off the bench.
Yeah, exactly.
A bit of variety. That player that's been having to sit, they now have a boot up their arse that they think, okay, if I want to get back into this team, I need to give a little bit more because I've just lost my place to Trossard.
Yeah, and we got to find more minutes for him. Came on the 66th minute today for Jesus. I felt Saka wasn't playing so well that Saka should have been the one taken off.
I actually felt today that Saka, Gabriel Jesus, and Thomas Partey weren't playing up to their usual levels.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Jesus got a goal early on, but then after that, every time I sort of saw him, he seemed to be on the ground. He seemed to spend more time on the ground in today's game than on his feet. And when a player's going to ground quite a lot, I would tend to take them off.
Yeah. 9 goals for Gabriel Jesus now. That's 4 goals in 3 games.
Not bad. We was asking if he could get 5 in the next 10, didn't we?
Yep.
Well, it looks like that's not going to be a problem.
Looks like he can surpass 10 and maybe head toward 15, 14, 15. Maybe Martinelli's playing the percentages. We still got the ball rather than defending, rather than losing the ball. So I'll read it out here in completion. Stan, maybe Martinelli's playing percentages. We still got the ball rather than losing the ball.
But you can't put them under pressure if you're back at our goal, if you're back at our penalty area. Where's the threat? We've worked the ball all the way up the pitch. Then we just passed it all the way back. I can maybe get going back a little bit, but we went all the way back down the length of the pitch.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I just thought to myself, surely there's a bit more about this team that we could have done something else.
And I thought there was a couple of passes from Martinelli that put Partey under pressure. The one that he took the yellow card for was a headed pass from Martinelli. Partey was unable to control it properly, had to regain position, and took a nibble at the player and got a yellow card there.
If I'm the other team, I'd be like, okay, then keep the ball then, because you're not doing anything with it. If that's how you're going to, if that's what you're going to do with the ball, then you just keep it. If you're not going to try and put it in the back of the net, then we'll save our legs.
Russ and Sam are saying Trossard looked like he was playing false 9, and then Trossard played well all along the front line and should be starting games. I think you have to pick a player though, whether it's, for me it was Bukayo Saka that Trossard should have come in for. And then we have a point. We still have Gabriel Jesus on the field, a point of reference for the attack as well. And then at the end we had Ødegaard coming off for Eddie Nketiah coming back on. Really throwing the dice at the last second.
I mean, I get that he's going more attacking, whereas in the other week he took off. He took off Ødegaard and went in and brought on Kivior, which was a very introverted move. So I kind of get it more today of what he was trying to do, and I like to see that, even though it doesn't come off. Wenger used to do it sometimes. We'd have 4 strikers on the pitch. We would throw basically the kitchen sink at games in the last minutes to try and carve something out of it.
Yeah.
So I get that.
All right, so next game up is Southampton, Stan, on Friday. They've been a very much of a jack-in-the-box team for us, haven't they, in the past, Southampton? Yeah.
But they're a team that you watch them get absolutely pasted the one week, and then we play them the following week, and they beat us. Seen it happen.
All things being equal, we got to get 3 points here, and I wanted 6 points. There's got to be 4 points before we face up to City.
What a result today! What a result like today should show people is that there's no foregone conclusions, because on paper and going into that game, you would think that this is an easy 3 points for Arsenal.
Yeah,
and it's quite easy to think the same thing next week. Mr. Tom's right. It goes down quite a lot. He's down on the floor quite a lot in this game. For me, taking him off, that's my message. That's me saying to him, why are you going down on the floor all of the time? Why are you on the deck all the time without having to say it to him? Just by taking him off.
There are things the manager could be doing to signal those things. If you don't like something, Mikel Arteta, if you don't like Gabriel Jesus dropping to the floor too much, substitute him. If you don't like, Partey, he took Partey off in this game as well. He wasn't playing well, absolutely within his rights to bring Jorginho on. And, not that we were any better or any worse with Jorginho on the field.
It's not a huge drop off, is it? You're
no,
taking off
especially the way he was playing today. I mean,
Partey
at his best versus Jorginho at his best is a huge, huge difference. But Partey was not playing well today. Exactly, Stan, that makes sense, but isn't keeping the ball part of our tactics? Exactly. I mean, that is our ball control. And I think Arteta was not happy with how the game was going in the first half, toward the end of that first half.
It's no different to when we used to keep the ball before, but rather than taking a shot, we would literally try to walk it into the goal. Remember when we used to do that all the time?
Ticky-tacky.
You've got to be more decisive. It's all right having the ball, but you've got to make the ball. You've got to threaten the other team with the ball. Otherwise, you might just say, "Well, if you're not going to come at us, and you might as well keep the ball. We'll take the point."
Really's here. Jesus dropping down at right back today when we were on top of our game was causing problems for the Hammers. That was never a penalty, by the way. Clear handball in the build-up. Listen, I didn't see a replay of the actual Rice incident. They went straight to...
They didn't show us a replay, did they?
No. Which, leads me to believe any type of controversy, they're not going to highlight it. It gets covered up a little bit.
Wasn't Tierney working the VAR box today?
I'm not sure who it was, actually.
I believe it was Tierney.
Let's hope for the best, Dan. Moyes teams always seem to give Arsenal problems. It annoys me more because he's a fantastic player and it's needless. Probably Gabriel Jesus. Yet the Arsenal refereeing brain trust turn into Stevie Wonder when it's one of their players. And I think he's still a little bit salty about the alien tackle on Gabriel Jesus for that Leeds game. So clear penalty, Tom. Clear penalty. So Stan, we go to the Emirates next on Friday. Southampton, bottom team in the league. Whenever you need 3 points, you got to play the bottom team at home.
Yeah, well, look what happened when we played Everton. As I'm saying, there are no foregone conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
Every game needs to be treated as dangerous as if you're going to be playing City.
Mm-hmm. So, lads, if you got any questions, throw them in. We'll be here for a few more minutes. We're going to get Fireman. Tony Donwan, man in the match for you, Stan. It's a tough one, right? Because nobody really excelled. Ødegaard played well in the first.
I think I'll probably give it to Martinelli.
Yeah, Martinelli would be a good candidate. I think I like you there.
I thought he kept working hard for the game.
Yeah,
got a nice assist as well, which is another assist. He's notched up. He's getting quite a few assists now. He's maybe beginning to adapt to his game. I'll probably give it to Martinelli today.
Yeah, just when I criticized him last week for the lack of assists coming from Martinelli, he popped up with an assist at Anfield and then one today as well. Assembled, I am confident about Friday. We have to be able to beat Southampton at home. And I'd actually like to see a little bit of rotation, have Trossard start that game in some way, shape, or form. So we're giving the Don Juan man in the match to Martinelli. Stan, you're pretty confident about Friday. It's Southampton at home. They are bottom of the league for a reason. And it should be perfect warm-up. It should be a perfect 3 points for the City game.
No, I'm very cautious about the game after today, and thinking back to other games like Everton. I'm very cautious now. We're at that fine end now, the sharp end of the season. Yeah. And we saw what happened last year towards the end of the season as well, when we were trying to get into the top four. So I'm hopeful, but I'm not cocky confident about, we're going to go and get 3 points.
Question: if we finish second, do you think it'll be seen as a failure this season?
Not for me.
I would say disappointment.
Yeah, I'd be very disappointed, but I wouldn't see it as a failure. I would say that, looking at under this manager, we've improved.
If we finish second,
of the table,
doesn't matter how you get there. It really matters how you get there, finishing second. If we were to come late in the season and come second to City, who've led the whole way, then we'd feel a lot different about second place than losing by, I'm going to say, 4 points, Stan.
Maybe, it could be that. But I mean, we've showed we've showed who we are this season. We've been riding at the top of the season since day one. When the odds were stacked against us, when that wasn't the plan, when the idea was, can we fight to get into the top 4? We've been fighting at the top of the season since day one. And, the team that we're up against, they've this ain't their first rodeo.
Yeah. And look, I think that this City team have made their mistakes early in the season. Yeah. And we've led with a decent gap. And they've whittled that away now. Whether they drop some points now remains to be seen till the end of the season. Mr. Tom said he typed disappointing, yes, failure now before we even said it. Ross said not a failure if we finish second, but it will be a massive missed opportunity.
Agreed. Agreed.
Another trophyless season as well. Well, listen, we're not, like I said, I'm not here to wave any white flags. We went second behind City after they beat us at the Emirates, and we won 7 games in a row, drawing these 2. We can go again. I believe it. I firmly believe we can go again, and it starts with Southampton as well. I do feel this is a big opportunity, as all other big money clubs have underperformed, and the newest ones are on their way up. I think we're always going to get that narrative. What if the other teams strengthen? Well, we're going to strengthen as well. There's nothing to say we're going to fall away in the next few years. Reddy said, I think City will win all their games now, but we need to turn up at the Etihad. Stephen is here. It will be a failure if we beat City and lose the league. Yeah. If we beat City and lose the league, that would be a failure. Can you imagine that, Stan? We beat City at the end of the league. Yeah,
that would be very disappointing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But you have to look at it. I've always said that, I understand that Arsenal are going to lose football matches. For me, it's always about the manner of the loss.
Mm-hmm.
I can't blame I can't blame my team for coming second in a football match, and they've given everything, but they were just not the best team on the day.
Yeah.
How can you be angry about that? If you see yourself lose a game and you see that some of your players just were not, playing up to their usual standard, then I get that. But why would these players do that? I mean, look at the position that they're in. This is why Leandro Trossard is in such hot form, because there was one day this season, wasn't there? He went to bed as a Brighton player, and he woke up the next morning and was on the top of the league with Arsenal.
Yeah. I don't think Nketiah will start on Friday. I think Gabriel Jesus is in form and he's going to stay in the team.
Eddie Nketiah ain't going to start Eddie Nketiah, is he? Surely.
No. Why start Eddie when Jesus is fit and scoring goals? 4 goals in 3 games for Eddie. For Gabriel Jesus. Leeds are going to win at the Etihad. I can feel it. I hope that happens, Mr. Tom. Agreed. Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United, Spurs, to extent can't be as bad. We're inconsistent next season. All right. Let's get through a quick roll call for everyone. Russ Morgan's here. Riddy, the Canterbury Gooner, Mr. Tom. Throw in a few names as well if you want, Stan. The Assembles here. Stevens here. Who else was here? Sam Greenwood was here. Alan C. We had a few Liverpool supporters. The Dugout Football Channel. Mahir was here as well. Not really
Sam.
happy about us bottling it. Yeah, of course was here. Sam Greenwood. Del Boy, Gunner TV, and a few others. Jamie Phillips was here.
The Dugout
Jack
Football
was here.
Channel.
Thanks. Arsenal Forever was here in the start as well. E20 Zone TV, West Ham. This is the Premier League. On any given day, a team can beat you. You know what I mean? But of course, it feels like a defeat, right, Stan? But we didn't lose.
Oh yeah, it feels like a defeat. Without a shadow of a doubt, it does. You know, we were cruising at one point in that game. I mean, when that second goal went in, and I was like, wow, man, we're going to really, we're really going to sort of like close the gap on our goal difference today.
Yeah.
I was looking around the team, I'm thinking, right, who else is going to get on the score sheet today? Who else is going to come in with a goal? Wasn't to be.
Yeah.
It's mad, it's just mad how the fortunes changed in that game. You know?
Yeah.
That's what happens. All you've got to do is leave the door ajar just a little bit and you can let the other team back in.
Yeah. 2-0, right? They called 2-0 the worst lead in football, Stan.
Did they? Oh.
You're 2-0 up and you get a goal goes against you and the game changes. And it really spun on that penalty, and 3 minutes later, Jared Bowen scoring at the other end.
I will say one thing, right? I know how difficult penalties are, but Aaron Ramsdale never looks like he's going to save a penalty to me.
Never gets to him. Yeah.
He never gets close at all, does he?
No. I always say this is the day, and when he does save a penalty, I'm going to be here for that. You know what I mean?
It'll be the equivalent of that'll be the equivalent of that John Jensen goal.
Yeah.
Won't it? There'll be t-shirts like I was there and Aaron Ramsdale saved the penalty.
Gordon Ramsay was here and Steven Seagal too. Yeah, Aaron Ramsdale, come on, save a penalty. Ben White has fallen off since he scored against Leeds, and I cursed him. Yeah, Ben White has not been playing as well. He was really bad last week against Liverpool, the second half especially.
There's no one else to come in though, is there? That's the thing.
Yeah,
and he knows that.
Problem now. Yeah, I was going to sign out, but we can talk about Saliba. Do we think we'll see Saliba back, or do we need Saliba back? If he's fit, of course. But right?
Before we go, something else I wanted to mention as well: the omission of Emil Smith-Rowe. What's happening there? You can't get a look in.
Yeah, I think Arteta's in a weird. I think Arteta's in a weird place where he doesn't want to tinker with the team too much.
But I mean, you look at today, for example, he decided to go with Teabag ahead of Emil Smith-Rowe. Emil Smith-Rowe, who was shown us in the past that he can come off the bench, score or assist. He's shown us that. He's shown us that he can be productive off of the bench. He doesn't seem to be getting a look in at all.
I wonder if there is.
But yeah, he can go off for the England under-23s or whatever and play for them and score.
I wonder if there was.
When he comes back to Arsenal, he can't even come off the bench. What is that all about?
I wonder if he does have a medical doubt or niggle.
Why is he on the bench
people
then?
Will say, people will say, why isn't he on the bench? Why is he on the bench? So yeah, I can't answer that question.
I'm not sure what's going on there, but it does seem to me that in the last couple in this game and the game at Anfield, that he's looking to use the bench to try something different, and Emil Smith-Rowe doesn't get a sniff. Why is that?
I don't know.
I can't think of a reason why that would be.
I mean, maybe Arteta.
If he's not fit, he shouldn't be on the bench.
Maybe it's a trust.
If he's not fit, he shouldn't be there.
Maybe it's a trust thing, and we did see Nelson.
Why does he not trust him?
Well.
Why doesn't he trust him? He's trusted him before, and he repaid that trust. So much so where people were saying that he should be starting. So I don't understand what's shifted there at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? It seems like something has shifted.
Something we're not privy to.
Yeah.
Mr. Tom said 2-0 is the most dangerous lead is a cliche, but I've also always felt it was wrong. Surely 1-0 is more precarious. I think we had this last season where Arsenal would get into these 1-0 leads and stop playing. Now are we going into where we get 2-0 leads and we stop playing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, this team should be able to do more with a 2-0 lead. They shouldn't be giving that up. Shouldn't be giving that up.
And now the situation is
anyway.
we get into a 2-0 lead, and the fans are going to think the same thing as the players may feel. We're 2-0 up here, but we can't sit on it. Maybe you gotta learn these tough lessons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe you gotta learn the tough lessons. We gotta ride out this tough period, regroup, and beat the Saints on Friday. For sure, ready. The team is learning harsh lessons. I hope we don't have to learn the harshest of all of those lessons, you know. Do you think Saliba will be back, Stan?
I have no idea, right? It's his back, and from someone like myself that suffers with really bad back problems, they're so hard to fix depending on what it is. You know, someone said that he's having surgery, which tells me that if he's having surgery, it must be more than a muscle problem, because usually with muscle problems, you take anti-inflammatories, you know, to help the nerves either calm down so that the muscles aren't so inflamed by the nerve endings. I get a lot of that myself, so I have no idea. I actually saw someone say, and again, could be a whole load of crap. I saw someone put out the other day that William Saliba has been fit to play for quite a while now, but the reason that he hasn't been playing is because there's a standoff between him signing his contract. Again, I can't remember who said that, but I remember reading it from somewhere. I don't even know if I believe it, but it's just another take. I saw another take today where someone said that if we don't win the league, then the blame should be put squarely at the Cronkies for not, you know, improving us in January. And I just thought to myself, well, you know, they made the money available. They can't spend it for Edu and Ateta. They've made the funds available because they were willing to drop 80, 90 million on a player, right?
Yeah.
So I don't see how the Cronkies are to blame for anything. They've played their part.
Yeah, I think we've had a lot of investment in the team over the last two or 3 years. And if we are to believe the rumors of Declan Rice or Caicedo, we're going to drop another 100 million this summer easily on one player. Ray, I'm not sure it's lessons. I'd say it's bad decision making. Is this one on Arteta?
But the players also have to take, no, I think, you know, obviously from Arteta's side, you can look at substitutions, you can look at how the substitutions are made and what time they're made, but you also have to look at the players that are on the pitch playing the game. You know, it wasn't Arteta that missed a penalty. You know, if you're giving a penalty, it's a free. For me, an opportunity. A penalty is a free pass, isn't it? You, as the manager of the player taking the penalty, you expect them to at least get the ball on target.
Yeah, if you get the ball on target, you have a high percentage. You have a very high percentage of scoring.
For the manager of the goalkeeper, who's in a goal having to save against a penalty, I never expect them to save it. If they do, it's a bonus and well done.
Yeah. I'm sure Mr. Tom has the exact percentages.
But if you can't even get the ball on target as the person taking it, you know, how can you blame the manager for that? You can't blame Mikel Arteta for Saka missing his penalty.
It's the old chestnut.
Saka should have done better there, but he didn't.
It's not old chestnut. It's the manager or the players. Well, can't it be a combination of both? We're all in this together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
As I mentioned, Salah, as great as he is, missed a penalty last week.
Yeah,
so it works.
I get it where good players miss penalties, and I also get it where Arteta wants his best players out there because he can always make a difference. But I think at some point you have to say Bukayo Saka's not having a good day. I'm not picking on Bukayo Saka, but because his general play wasn't great, I'm saying why not take him off and allow another player to have an opportunity. Ensemble said exactly, Stan. Arsenal don't seem to be reading off the same page. Listen, we'll leave it there. Not a lot else to be said, right? The fan base is going to do what the fan base is going to do. It's going to go into meltdown. We're going to blame. It's your own personal opinion, right? Everyone has their own personal opinion, I will say, on social media. If you want to blame the manager, that's how you feel about it, that's fine. You're not going to be able to convince people who think differently as well.
Yeah.
You know, that's just my point of view. And I don't try to convince. Don't try and convince people of their opinion, differently. Yes, Dan.
And just remember, I heard this saying a few weeks ago, and I think it was a saying that Sarri, the football manager from Chelsea, came out and said some time ago, and it's stuck in my mind now, and I quite like it. And that is, you have to remember that football is the most important thing of all of the least important things. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because there are other things there are other things in life which are more important than football. Do you know what I mean? But it is the most important thing of the least important of the least things that are important. That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. There are other sayings out there, but we'll leave it there. It's collective responsibility. They assembled, and the players are in this together. The managers in this together. The managers got to make the right choices, and I think he's got to grow as well, and he's growing. And this young team, we forget how young our best players are. This young team is growing as well. I want to think about it this way, Stan. It's a mini league right now. We have 7 games to go, right? And if we win the majority of points in these 7 games, we win the league. We just have to do better than City.
Yeah.
And leave it at that. I mean, it's not impossible, right? As the Assemble said, we have to look at what we're doing, not look over our shoulder at City. And the players maybe have to look at themselves and start playing and taking on a little bit more responsibility. But Stan, thank you for joining me today all the way from the bedside, right?
Yes, in bed in Vancouver.
And thank you, Jack, for giving me your time as well today. We'll be back on Thursday. We're going to probably preview the Southampton game and maybe try to predict what happens in these 7 games. Slap a like, everybody, on the video, on the live stream. I did drop a backstage pass. If anyone wants to grab that, come and say hello. I can stay a little bit, not too long. I don't know about you, Stan, but we'll get out of here. Thank you. Take care, everyone. 2-2 draw with West Ham. Pretty disappointing on the face of it, but we have to go again. Lift ourselves up and go again. Come on, you Gunners. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Take care.
Bye.